For the hobby of Warhammer, part of the fun is collecting, assembling, and painting miniatures. Be it starting your first army and going at your own pace, or saying, "F it, we ball, I'm getting army number 4 even though I still haven't finished army number 1. We all at some point have a massive backlog of miniatures that get painted at a snail's pace that we all like to call our pile of shame, or a pile of opportunity. Every pile of shame is different. It can either be a few small boxes of unassembled miniatures, or assembled minis sitting in a display case for years waiting to be painted. But oh boy, it's that time of year. That's right, it's time for the annual Pile of Shame video, where I showcase all the things I painted since last year's video and all the crap I bought. So welcome back everyone, it's me the Warhammer Complainy Guy, Revan/Handy, Destroyer of Wallets, and Maker of Terrible Financial Decisions. First, before we get to today's subject matter, a huge thank you to everyone who subscribed since last year's video, and all of you that have been here since the beginning. Thanks to your support, my subscriber count is 3 times what it was this time last year. So if you want to see me hit the funny Warhammer numbers and the funny numbers this year, consider subscribing to the channel. Next is if you want to see the progress of me going through and painting my pile of shame, I stream to YouTube and Twitch 3 to 4 times a week, schedules in the Discord and also sometimes in the community tab. Now, how is this video going to be structured? Well, obviously I'm going to start with the stuff that was in last year's video that I painted, and if you want to see the Pile of Shame compendium, I have a playlist on my channel for all my Pile of Shame videos. After that is all the stuff that was added between last year's video and this video that I painted, and then it's going to be the part you've all been waiting for, what's been added to the Pile of Shame. So first up is Asmodai. In last year's video, I said I was going to count him as painted, but that was just me padding out the video's runtime. But I painted him, and damn did GW do a good job with his updated design. If you're a Dark Angels player, I highly recommend picking him up if you want to learn how to paint smoke or cloaks. He still retains that classic Dark Angels Interrogator Chaplain look, except for maybe the alternate head.
I'm sure it's not that noticeable.
Next up is my Master of Possession, or should I say Skeletor. This was an easy conversion and I'm really happy with how he turned out. It looks exactly how I imagined it in my head. But a lot of the heavy lifting was done by the paints I chose, which is Duncan Rhodes' Too Thin Coats.
So good.
If you too want to make your own Skeletor, all you need is of course a Master of Possession, Primaris Chaplain head, and one of the skulls from the Citadel Skulls box. Then after Skeletor, I painted up another small conversion that's really just giving him a helmet. It's everyone's favorite fan cannon Captain General of the Custodes, Kitten from If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. This was pretty much like I said, just give him a helmet and then stare at a reference image and paint. Only thing I wish I could have done is replace the axe with a spear, but hindsight 2020, and also that's a bit more work. Keeping with the Custodes, next is the Venetari Gabagoo. These were honestly one of the more interesting Custodes I painted because, of course,
They fly now. They fly now.
although if I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably ditching my Green Stuff World Chrome Metal Paints recipe because working with alcohol paints is a pain in the ass. Also, I'll probably be getting alternate flight stands because my god do I hate GW flight stands. And one more thing, be very careful because these stupid little flaps right here break off really easily. But that's all the Warhammer I painted from last year's video. Let's move on to tabletop game number 2, Battletech. So the easiest part was finally painting the cockpit glass for my Hunchback, King Crab, and Annihilator, along with repainting part of the Hunchback and Annihilator because, yeah, Ultramat has an expiration date they don't tell you about. And while I painted those mechs, I also painted my Atlas and Direwolf. The Atlas was pretty straightforward, just painted like a classic Atlas. Then the Direwolf, I wanted to pay homage to the first miniature I ever painted, which was an old Iron Winds metal Direwolf, and putting them side by side, I think I did a good job. I wanted to see how far I've come as a painter since I started again back in 2019, because this mech was painted all the way back in 2011. And honestly, for it being my first painted miniature, not bad past me. Then finally, I wanted to challenge myself for this, so I painted my Bull Shark Maz in a woodland style camo using grays, because sharks are usually tones of gray. Since I've never really painted something like this before, and just being random with the placement of the camo honestly helps sell the effect. I also freehanded the shark mouth on it because that's how they did it for the Harebrained Schemes Battletech game, and I was honestly gonna do that anyways because... But I'm really proud of how this turned out, and I think going forward I'm just gonna paint my mechs with their own unique paint schemes. Well, that's everything I painted from last year's video. Let's move on to what got added but also painted since last year. But before that, since I know what my average watch time is for my videos, it's that time again. That's right, it's time for some audience interaction to help boost it to the almighty YouTube algorithm. So if you're enjoying the video so far, please like and subscribe because it only helps this elaborate post of a channel grow, along with joining my Discord server if you care about that because I like seeing everyone's painted miniatures. But let me know in the comments down below, how bad is your pile of shame? Or how many miniatures have you painted since last year? So it's time for the part you've all been waiting for, what's been added to the pile of shame. Starting with what I painted that wasn't in last year's video. First up is making Paula's bad at stuff proud with a unit of Centurions. This was also part of my mandatory 1 kit bash per year because I made them look not as goofy by making them slightly taller using Eons of Battle's guide. Sorry, Paul. And before you crucify me, they're not as tall and lanky as Jay's are, even though they're just as cool. I wanted mine to be a tiny bit taller, but still looking bulky. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you would know that I love magnets. So I'm gonna get my money's worth out of the plastic crack I just bought and magnetized all the weapons. That's right, I can now run my Centurions with any loadout of my choice. And also because I don't plan on getting any more of them. But these turned out perfect in my opinion, and I'm happy they're finished after taking so long to paint them. Next is probably my favorite mini currently in my collection. Sorry Ickbard, and sorry guys, it's not the Warlord Titan, that's a bigature. It's the brand new Iron Warriors Warsmith and Terminator armor. Damn is this mini just so cool. This miniature was so much fun to paint, and I don't think I've been this hyped to paint a mini since the Lion. It's a good example of how Forge World minis and just some of the mini designs have come a long way if we ignore the Sanguinary Guard, because holy finally easy to paint hazard stripes. But I just love Terminator armor, and a Terminator carrying a gravity hammer is just so peak. Then the final mini that I painted is from my brand new army, a Grey Seer from Da Funny Rats, Skaven. This is the most recent mini I painted, and I think I did a good job for it being the first rat I painted, and also something that isn't just armor. I'm really looking forward to now painting more of my Skaven, which segues perfectly into what's been added to the pile of shame. First, starting with my Skaven half of a Skaventide box that I got for Christmas. Once again, thank you Ickbard. I've assembled everything except for the 16 clan rats I still have left, and I'm also not looking forward to painting them. But I really like the new Skaven, and I'm glad they finally got new minis, so I guess I now have an Age of Sigmar army. Real quick, I also forgot in last year's video that I got an Ironfather Pharos and a Dark Angels Interrogator Chaplain when I made last year's Pile of Shame video, so add them to the Pile of Shame. And while making this video, I also just remembered that I got these Warframe minis from Digital Extremes that they sent me for Warframe 1999 that I was supposed to paint, but then I got the coup. Sorry Digital Extremes, I still love Warframe by the way. Now, remember that Iron Warriors Warsmith I painted earlier? Well, it also has a Warhammer World exclusive variant, and I was lucky enough to get one off of eBay for a not a ridiculous markup. So I'm probably going to be painting him relatively soon because it's a really cool miniature, but keep an eye out, it's probably going to be sometime in July, maybe, depending on when I move. Next up is the Catachan Colonel, aka Sergeant Johnson, aka Carl Weathers. I was lucky enough to find him on eBay for retail price and also not a ridiculous markup. When he does get painted, he'll be painted like Sergeant Johnson because I'm a huge Halo fan, and now you understand why I like the Warsmith. Continuing on the exclusive miniatures train, I also found Umbral 6 for also not a ridiculous markup. So now I have a Vindicare Assassin, I just need to get a Jeweler's Saw so I can magnetize him to his display base and a gameplay base. And to make everyone even more jealous, I got some suppressors for $25 when I was up in Bloomington last year. So that was a fun find, especially since GW refuses to give them their own standalone kit. Next up is Dreadnoughts. Since the Great Legends Purge of 10th edition and missing out on getting the classic box knot, I told myself, never again. So I got a Death Company Dreadnought and Bjorn, and good thing I did because the Death Company Dreadnought was just turned into a Brutalis Dreadnought with decals, and thank God Bjorn isn't getting thrown into Legends baby jail yet. Then the final Dreadnought is a Custodes Galatus Dreadnought, and I still need to get one more of them along with another Telemon, also yes it's magnetized. I also figured I should mention I got the Tactical Gene Stealer rocks for the other Custodes Dreadnoughts. Once again, thank you Ickbard. And I also just remembered I have a Resin Leviathan with weapons that Ickbard sent to me too. Not sure what I'm gonna do with it, but I'll figure it out eventually. Now, I'm not going to get into Necromunda, but I got some of the Arachnorigs because I just think they're neat. They honestly should have been an AdMech model, but nonetheless, I'm looking forward to painting them whenever the hell that is. I also have Major Kill's Big E model because I wanted a God Emperor Mankind model to go with my Custodes, and I also bought this before the whole peptides thing. Also, quick side note, I would have put a Taunar in the pile of shame since that won the subscriber vote goal, but yeah, it's still out of stock and I really hope it doesn't get retired. But that's all the Warhammer stuff. Now on to Battletech and other things, and because this is already a long video, I'm gonna speed run right through it. Starting with all the minis I got from the Mercenaries Kickstarter, which is the Mercenaries box, a Blood Asp, Visigoth Aerospace Fighter, Savannah Masters, 2 blind boxes which had a Griffin and helicopter inside of it, and a 4-inch Timberwolf. Then for other Battletech stuff, I got the first Somerset Strikers box, 2 blind boxes, and I got a Rifleman 2C and a Hoplite. Then from Ironwind Metals, I got a Savage Wolf, and then finally our Lord and Savior the Urban Mech, which has an Arrow 4 launcher because f you in the general area you're in. Then the last giant robot, a High Gog for when I eventually make that Gundam video sometime this year. Also yes, I'll be getting Gundam Assemble when that comes out in July. And because I have to include model trains somehow into all my videos, I have a roundhouse kit that still needs to be built and a Durango turntable. This is all of course with a HON3 model train layout I can hopefully start sometime this year. So yeah, that's the 5th chapter of my pile of shame on YouTube, and now 6 years of collecting Warhammer. I would say this past year in terms of buying and painting crap, it was pretty well balanced compared to previous years if we just ignore Battletech. So look forward to of course more Warhammer content with a few Battletech, Gundam, and model train videos sprinkled in between. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, and a huge thank you to the GIGAist of the chads right here, the channel members and Twitch subscribers. So if you too want to be a Giga Chad and help fund these stupid ventures, consider becoming a member of either for access to the member section of the Discord and other things I still have to think of. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, but I have to go make more terrible financial decisions, so I'll see you all in the next video, and remember, when you play Warhammer, being poor is a choice.